Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
You're watching Fanboy.
Fanboy,
fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
God, I assume Tom.
This afternoon, I'm speaking with a man from one of the greatest movies ever made in Cecil B. Demented. He's been in Blade, and right now he's in the movie Embattled. Stephen Dorff, how are you, man?
Not bad, man. A little tired, not bad. How you doing?
I'm great. Dude, this movie is intense.
Yeah, this is a rough one. It always was from the minute I read the script. I knew I wanted to play this part, but I didn't really quite know until about a few weeks out that what I was embarking on. So it's one of those things that you read and you find it incredibly powerful. And then I went off and did True Detective, and I was coming out of that and going straight into the training for this, try to put some size on and just kind of morph into who Cash Boykins should have been and would have been and could have been. And so we kind of, I pulled from all different guys. I kind of, stripped things back, put him in Alabama, where he comes from, give this kind of hillbilly feel to him, Southern roots, messed up guy, incredible fighter, incredible champion, but not an incredible parent, not an incredible human being. So it was a hard one. It was a hard one and challenging, Really at the heart of it, I saw a father-son drama set against the backdrop of MMA, and that really kind of turned me on. So.
Right, for sure. I mean, your character has a bit of Nate Diaz. He's got some old school Tank Abbott in there, a little bit of Don Fry, some Conor McGregor. It's all mixed in. And then David McKenna is really known for his lighthearted comedies, so we expected that from him. But and then the fight between father and son is kind of reminiscent about Phoenix Jones when he fought his adopted brother in PFL. So it's like there's so much from the MMA world that influenced the story.
Yeah, I mean, David really, when he writes, kind of goes deep. I mean, I think he even kind of attacked a little bit, without saying it, but when the UFC made that big deal with Reebok, how it kind of stripped a lot of fighters of a lot of income, as far as their sponsors and stuff. And, just like, there's definitely moments where Cash is redeemable, if that's even possible. I mean, when he does put his voice up for the other fighters for wanting to start a union, maybe if these guys don't get it together and pony up the ducats, there is some emotion towards the end and vulnerability that I tried to bring out in him without revealing what goes down in the end. I think there is a genuine feeling of love, a tough love, and being proud of his son for the accomplishment of where he's heading in his career. And, I don't know. I mean, what I love about this film is it's honest. It's honest to these kinds of people. It's honest in every sense of the word to Colin's character, Colin McKenna, who's David's son, who has Williams syndrome and comes in and just knocks that out of the park, and really melts your heart away. I mean, I just think the script was beautifully crafted. It's an entertaining movie at the same time as a really hard look at a guy that, is a champion, but who he is as a person underneath, and that was interesting for me, and David just is, I just love his writing. So, even in the nastiest of characters.
Well, I also want to thank you for educating me on Williams syndrome, because I had never heard of it before. So I had to look it up thanks to this film, and now I learned something new. So that's an added bonus to all of this. Take me through your training process, because you physically transformed yourself. You looked like you put on a good 20, 30 pounds just to play the role. And here you are, a 2-division champion as your character of Cash. And then, he had a hard life. And so he's trying to impose that on his kids. And now he's got money, but he wants his kids to understand the struggle of earning their keep. So there's a lot of layers in this story.
Yeah, there is. And that just goes with, great writing. And I think, I mean, as far as the training, I was literally coming out of True Detective, so I was very skinny. And when I looked in the mirror, I did not see Cash. So I knew I had a limited, because we went over on True, the movie got pushed back, but in actuality, the shooting didn't get pushed back. My training got kind of absorbed, which kind of frankly annoyed me because I need the time I need to do it right. And I knew I wasn't going to have the 3 months that I'd have on a huge film. But I did need at least 6 weeks to put on. You know, I put on probably 9 pounds. I wish I could have put on 20, but I put on about 9 pounds in the first 4 weeks, and then went to Alabama, continued my physical training and dieting with this guy, Josh Perzo, who I've worked with on a bunch of pictures. He's out of Montreal and just kind of knows my body, knows what I was after for this part, knows where the areas we needed to bulk up and put some size on: my shoulders, my lats, my back, you know, my arms. And then we got into the choreography. So I got with Chris Connolly and Fernando Chin, who did all the choreography on the picture. And basically, luckily, I'm fast as far as I know how to throw a punch. I know how to take a shot and sell a punch or a kick on camera. So, you know, it's not like I had to go back to day one training in school to learn these fights. I could kind of shorthand the fights. I could kind of learn the choreography round by round, bring in the character's style here and there, and let it fly. And Darren Mann did the same, you know, coming in at the last hour. So we basically, in retrospect, did it in kind of a Cliff Notes fashion, but with the expertise around us to where we really, any kind of weakness they saw, okay, if his footwork isn't there, we know we need to spend 4 days on that. If Dorff's having a hard time on the mats with the you know, with suplexes and the tumbles here and the arm bars and getting each move correct, so we know that when the real guys are watching this, they're like, holy shit, that's real, you know. And so, you know, any world I'm playing in, I tend to go very anal as far as wanting to be true to that sport or that genre. If it's law enforcement, if it's MMA, as we're doing here, if it's, you know, playing a fireman, you know, I want to learn what I need to learn. But it was tough, this one, because I didn't have the time I really needed. And that adrenaline, I think, and that fear just pushed me through, you know. And at the same time, I was doing things physically to just change my look. You know, I shaved my head. I put gold teeth in. I started picking out crazy wardrobe for this guy. You know, me and Nick, the director, would talk on the phone from Arkansas, where I was shooting True Detective. And towards the end of True Detective, I was starting to already kind of bring my focus into Cash Boykins as much as I could. But you know, it was a tough part. It was a tough, challenging part mentally too. The physical is one aspect, and that's always interesting and hard and challenging. But it was more the brain of this dude. It was more, who is this guy? Why is he like the way he is? But he's a hard nut to figure out, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And what I enjoyed about the fight scenes was that they looked legitimate. It wasn't like, you know, sometimes you'll see a MMA movie and then you'll see kung fu moves in there that don't ever show up in the cage. And you guys did a great job of, you know, roundhouse kicks, a lot of Muay Thai in there, jiu-jitsu and wrestling that all played a part in it. So it added to it, because we cover a lot of fights on our site, and to see the realism there that didn't pull us out of the movie and go, we've never seen that in the cage or in the ring, meant so much more to us.
Nice.
When you got the script from David, and you saw how the character was, and you, like you said, you know, Cash is a tough nut to crack, and realizing that he's a champion in the cage, but he's a broken man outside of it. How does that start to develop with David as the writer to bring the character itself to life? Because you're the one breathing life into those words.
You know, there was only, I want to say, maybe 2 lines or 2 moments that I wanted to make better or just didn't feel right. But a great script, usually when it's there, you don't want to change. You know, you just want to fill it and bring it to life. And in doing that, you adjust here and there, or you say, you know what, Cash would say this at this point, because I'm starting to get to know the guy better than, you know, David at this point. You know, David created this guy, knew the act, whatever actor took that part. The biggest challenge is the commitment to go all the way with it, because it doesn't really work if I went, you know, tough and kind of brash, but then I was a nice guy and really heartfelt. And, you know, you want to go all the way with who this guy is, because most likely he's never going to change. You know, you'd like to believe that he would one day, but a guy set in these ways is probably going to be left alone. And we're just with the hanger-oners by the end, you know, which is kind of what happens to him. Sure, he'll have a big bank account, but his personal life will suffer from his actions, and the people that are sweet and special that are around him in his life, the beautiful things, are going to not want to hang out with this guy, which is understandable for his actions. But, you know, I mean, I didn't change much, man. I just had to fill it. And that was the challenge, was these scenes were there. These scenes were written. I think maybe I tweaked a couple lines here or there, or came up with a couple good ideas. And David was like, oh, I love that. You know, or Nick was, you know, Nick Sarskov, our director, he basically developed this script. He bought it from McKenna, his company. He did rewrites on it. They had really done the work. So when I got it, it was pretty ready to rock, you know. And then, I don't know, about a year from when I first read it, maybe a year and a half, 2 years maybe, to when we shot the film. Because, you know, I had to leave for a good 7 months to do True Detective. They offered me the movie officially around that time when that was announced. They didn't give it to me right away. I showed interest in it, and I was introduced to Nick in kind of a dinner, kind of a social situation. Yeah, it kind of came to me, this one, through relationships, not through agents, which is what normally happens. You know, oh, this movie wants you to play an MMA champion. It's from a new director and David McKenna's script. Da, 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 da. It didn't really happen that way. It happened through a friend of mine, Colleen Camp, who thought I may really like this script, and she knew I liked David McKenna's writing, and kind of put us all together again. So my hat's off to kind of her for the intro, and then my hat's off to Nick for giving me a shot at this character, which is a tough character, and you wouldn't necessarily think of me maybe right away in playing it, you know.
Well, you have the talent to do it, and you've been acting since you were a child and still making movies all these years later. So congratulations for that, to have that level of longevity.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, just I grew up in this crazy freaking business. So
with Darren's character, you know, he comes a long way. You know, he had to deal with the abuse of Cash at an early age, and now seeing his younger brother with Williams syndrome, you know, get abused by his father, that father-son dynamic, and actually having to step into the cage. You know, Warrior did that. You know, I mentioned Phoenix Jones, and his adoptive brother did that. But there was no other way for these characters to resolve it, and it makes the most sense for the story. You know, and then there's the people that really do want to beat up their dads that had terrible relationships. So there's something in there for them too.
Yeah, I mean, all that you said is very honest and very true. And then on top of that, you throw in this world we're living in, which is when something happens in a personal space or in a house, and somebody's filming it on their camera with a champion like Cash, you know, this shit goes viral. And then, you know, what are these UFC guys, or these in our movie it's WFA, right? But what are they gonna do? Well, they're gonna see, wow, we got 30 million hits on this. We need to have these guys fight. You know, they just see money in their eyes, and they see that pay-per-view. And, you know, and I think look, it's dark, you know. I think it's way beyond kind of Warrior. I thought that was a cool movie, but this is deeper and darker in a much more sophisticated way as far as the writing of the script and the characters. I did like that movie. What I'm amazed about is that with MMA all over the world blown up the way it has, and blown up a lot bigger since a movie like Warrior, obviously continues to grow. It's basically diminished all of boxing, I think. I don't really know when I would watch a boxing fight, unless I guess Tyson Fury is going to fight, or, you know, I just am not aware of boxing. It's not in the zeitgeist as it used to be, because I think UFC and this sport has demolished it. It's taken it to another game, and that's the game people want to watch. It's extreme. It's an extreme version of what boxing is, and it has so much more elements with the sport. But, you know, for me, I'm amazed there hasn't been more movies set against the backdrop of this sport. And, you know, I thought that there was a real lax of, you know, Hollywood usually is the type of place that, will, you know, when something's hot, they'll do way too many movies about it. You know what I mean? But instead, they keep making all these biopics, boxing biopics, which are just running into each other, whether it's the, you know, the Miles Teller one, or this one, or that one, or, you know, and it's all fine and dandy, but they're not really, the stories aren't getting out, you know. And I feel like, wow, with the exception of Warrior and maybe some documentaries, I don't know another title that's in the zeitgeist based in MMA, really, you know. I know movies that have used MMA within them. I've done movies where, when I met Cowboy for the first time, Cerrone, it was on a movie called Felon in New Mexico, and I had met a lot of Greg Jackson's team. Now I'm in Alabama and I'm actually, whoa, I'm not playing a prisoner, I'm playing the guy. So it was a little bit more intense, a little different. But when you look over and you have Kenny Florian and you have Tyron Woodley and you have all these kind of familiar faces out there that live and breathe this sport for their lives and their careers, you know, that's a helpful tool too. And I love the fact that we had Chris Connolly. You know, he really got me up to speed fast. He saw weaknesses, he adjusted. You know, we adjusted them. He saw my strengths. We kind of let that go. We have that. Let's work on this. And we just pieced it together because we didn't have the time to really go through a full-on training camp as we would normally. You know, we just didn't have the time. We were backed against the wall to try to get the film in before the end of the year. And it was, you know, it was go time. So when it's go time, you got to buck up and go. You can't just say, well, I need more time. You know, you got to make it work. So, you know, but yeah, I'm amazed. I mean, now with the release of Embattled, there is a few others. There's a Halle Berry female version of kind of a mother and a fighter. Feels more like a Ronda Rousey type of a film. That'll come next year. I've heard about a Kimbo Slice movie, which is a really interesting story. I heard about that when we were filming Embattled, but I haven't heard about the movie. So, you know, I'm just, look, I would have loved for the theater situation to be a little better because this is a film you want to see in a movie theater. But then again, we've all been watching content for 8 months or 9 months now in our houses. So I just want as many eyes on this picture as possible. And there's not much out. So I was pretty happy that we kept our date and we're going. So let's see what noise we can make now.
Well, I'm lucky I got a big screen TV, so I got to watch it in a theater feel.
Yeah, you crank it, man. You got to crank it.
Sure.
You got great sound design in this movie. It's insane.
Oh yeah, and especially on a 4K TV, it's gorgeous. I want to touch upon Nick real quick. You know, Nick is from Eastern Europe. He's from Georgia. Georgia was a communist country at one point in time. So even though he didn't possibly grow up in the Soviet Union, you know, his parents did. And here we are, you know, it has that gritty feeling of someone that has that relation to an Eastern European mindset. Does Nick's background add to the grittiness of the film itself?
You know, I don't know. I didn't get to know too much of Nick's background. Obviously, I knew where he came from. I know his dad's businessman in Russia, I believe. He's pretty mysterious and quiet, Nick. He's not a showman. He's very humble. If anything, he didn't talk enough. And I was worried about that because as a director, you're the captain. If you're not communicating things with everybody and every actor, you're going to get what you're going to get. You know, I play devil's advocate with everything. And I had my eye on him a lot because frankly, I was a little nervous. I was, you know, first time director, you know, he'd done stuff in Russia before, I think TV or a film, but you know, this is, you know, nobody here knows him. This is his entry into Hollywood. So, you know, I always watched him and I thought he should be more vocal at times. And I was pretty aggressive with him sometimes because I was playing this part, which I wasn't in Steven's head really a lot. I had to go somewhere deep for this part to totally embody him because he's not me. I don't agree with him. I don't really like the guy. But I'm an actor. That's what I do for a living. So, you know, my job is to find an energy, become him, and commit to that person. And I had to do it. But I got to tell you, you know, when I saw this movie the first time, maybe 6 months ago, and it was a rough cut, but pretty close to being done, I was blown away. And he took a little longer than most directors will take, but God bless that he did. You know, he waited for the sound designer from Gravity who won the Oscar to do, you know, he set the bar high for himself. And I got to say, as a quiet, you know, European kind of guy who comes from a communist country, that's who he is. And God bless him for it. He's not a screamer. He's not you know, he has his opinions, but he's very quiet. He may whisper something to somebody. Whatever style he has, I don't want him to change because he made a brilliant movie. And I, you know, the things I was worried about came together in the end. So, you know what? My hat's off to him. I told him after, I said, I'm sorry if I was, you know, more difficult maybe than I am when I work. You know, I was just in a hyped up zone to play this part. And therefore I was demanding and I was everything this character was. And sometimes you got to go there to get the job done, you know, and it resonates now. And so for me, in telling stories, that's all that matters to me. Did I go around killing people on the set and bashing people and cursing at people? No, I don't mean that way. I just mean I wasn't Steven. I wasn't really as accessible as Steven. I was more Cash. So when I would say something, it would come off more abrasive, the way he talks, as opposed to, you know, the normal way to maybe deal with an issue. You know, if I got upset with Darren, it came out in a Cash Jett way. You know, it was very weird. And so most of me and Darren's relationship was me wanting to like him and be his friend and hang out on the weekends, but we weren't really in that zone in the movie. So it was never going to happen. You know, I did call him after, and I thought he gave a great performance and a beautiful, beautiful performance, because there were certain scenes that I was never around to see. I wasn't on set for those intimate family scenes. I wasn't around to see his relationship with Colin come to fruition. You know, beautifully directed, beautifully done, you know. So, you know, my hat's off to Nick and the whole team. You know, sometimes I'm wrong. You know, I'm intense when I work.
Well, you proved yourself worthy of the role, man. Before I let you go, you know, it's Friday night. Opening weekend is this weekend, November 20th. You know, Bellator's fight just happened on Thursday, so there isn't a UFC fight this Saturday. But we want some action. Why should we turn into Embattled? Well,
I think for you know, UFC, MMA community all over the world, I think this film resonates. It's entertainment, but it's a really harsh look at a dysfunctional family set against the backdrop of this incredibly brutal, great sport that we all seem to love and want to follow. And, you know, I wouldn't want to do press with MMA outlets and all the guys that I'm talking to if I didn't think we made something that was true to form. So I can only hope that they love the film. I can only hope that they're entertained, and let's get it on, man.
I dig it. Stephen Dorff, thank you so much for your time, man. Before I let you go, where can we find you on social media if we want to connect?
That's a bit difficult because I've been resistant of that for years, but I'm not really on social media. There's a lot of fake ones, but I've never done the verified thing because I've always just fearful of that accessibility and that. I don't know. I think I'm one of the only ones. I mean, I can't tell you how many studios have asked me to do it, but for now, I think you got to go on that IFC Embattled, those toggles or handles or whatever you call them, and they can get all that for you. But yeah, for me, probably the only way you could see me is probably through my press that I'm doing, and maybe to watch the film, you know.
Perfect. Stephen Dorff still proving he's smarter than the rest of us. Embattled is out on Friday, November 20th via VOD from IFC Films. Thank you so much for your time, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, boss. Thanks. Appreciate it, man. Good interview.
Thank you.
See you again.
You got it. Take care. Thanks, Stephen, for setting that up as well.
See you guys.